All right. Well, let me put my chair. Just no. Oh, there we go. All right, there we go. I feel like my head's too big in the picture. I just feel like my head's too big overall. But I am not afraid to say that because it's something I've been told my entire life. So what's 1 minute? What do you say? Ladies and gentlemen, my girlfriend's in the room right now as she's in the other half of the cave, putting in work. She says she loves my big head. That's all that matters at the end of the day. Everybody shout out love to my lady over there, my fine ass girlfriend over there. Hell right, ladies and gentlemen. All right, welcome to the Mac and Black podcast. I am riding this bad boy solo yet again because Mac is on vacay right now, which is all gravy. Hold on, let me make sure I get caught up here. All right, am I caught up? I'm officially caught up. All right. So, I'm going to be hanging out with you guys probably for the next couple of hours or so. And we got a lot to jump into. I'm going to be sounding off on the Yankees. They're losing right now. I think it's 6-3. James Mejia with a hell rack with the world's finest chocolate's the greatest. They're losing 6-2. James Mejia with a double 6-3. So I'll sound off on the Yankees here in a little bit. We'll get into some WrestleMania recap. As you guys know, WrestleMania was this past Sunday. We'll get into that. Plus, guess what? Dude, Madison Square Garden right now is hot. Rangers, hot. Knicks, hot. The Knicks play tomorrow afternoon, as a matter of fact. They're actually on ABC. Look how much better this team is now when you have the Knicks on Sunday morning right after church, NBA against the Pelicans. It's going to be good. We just beat the Pelicans a few days ago in New Orleans. So they come back. So that's going to be a good game. We'll get into that later, but because it's fresh in my head, I do want to kind of get into should I get into the Yankees? I'm actually going to get into WrestleMania. I want to get it out the way. As you guys know, WrestleMania was this past weekend. And to be honest with you, dude, I thought both nights were really good nights. I thoroughly enjoyed the show. I thought, there was a couple of surprises in there. When I did a WrestleMania preview Sunday show with the crew from Pipe Bomb Radio, and I had said on there a couple of things that actually one halfway came true and the other one ended up becoming true. And the one that halfway became true was that Nia Jax was put in the sharpshooter by Natalya. I thought that was rather hilarious. But she didn't tap from it. They ended up, I think Shayna Baszler got her in that Cochina clutch or whatever and tapped up Natalya. And then Big E ends up dropping the Intercontinental title against Apollo Crews. And I kind of called that a little bit. And what I didn't, because what I thought was going to happen is that Big E is going to, I felt Big E was going to drop the title. And then what I thought was going to happen is, they would start a singles run. But I totally didn't know that what's his name was even from, Tampa in the first place, Big E. So you just basically asked Big E to drop the Intercontinental title in front of his own home crowd. And the reason why I think this is significant is because when the WWE was going to Saudi Arabia, they have this wrestler, his name is Mansoor. I don't even know if this guy is even on the roster, and I think he eerily looks a lot similar to Mustafa Ali, but I know they're two totally different guys. But every time whenever they're in Saudi Arabia, somebody always jobs to Mansoor. So now you're on the biggest stage of them all here at WrestleMania, and WrestleMania, you have Big E drop the Intercontinental title to Apollo Crews in what was known as a Nigerian drum fight, which is nothing more than just a street fight. And then you Mansoor's on main event. Okay, well then that's my first problem because I don't really watch main event like that. So okay. And Keith says Rays. Yeah, I'm gonna sound off on the Yankees here in a sec. But I just want to finish this. Matter of fact, I'll get into him here in just a sec. I'm gonna finish this point. But for Big E to drop that title in front of his home crowd lets me know that there's a singles run coming. There's a singles run coming. And Big E, it's well deserved. It's well deserved. But let's see how. That's why, because I said I thought that Roman Reigns was going to win. I thought that the triple threat match was actually a really good match, and I liked the way it ended. And the one thing, you know, a lot of WrestleMania, what happened in WrestleMania, I thoroughly enjoyed, because the one thing that they didn't do was the 89 finishers to the 88 kickouts. They didn't do that. It happened a couple times. I can't remember which match it was where there was a couple of finishers that got kicked out, but it wasn't consistent. It wasn't the whole night. You know, when Alexa Bliss, you know, and I think she's got a WWE title, women's title run coming too. But when you get Alexa Bliss to distract the Fiend in one RKO insta match, that's how I like it. That means we're making finishers actually mean a damn. Meltzer rated the triple threat match 4.5 stars. Yeah, dude, it was a really good match. And I think Dave Meltzer, you know, does 5-star ratings. He gave it. I thought that the main event match was a really good match. I really thought it was. You know, for Edge not being in the WrestleMania in 10 years, he looked great. I thought Roman Reigns looked great, and I thought Daniel Bryan looked great. You know, any one of those three guys could have won the match, and I would never tweak about it. But I'm just saying that I thought Roman Reigns made more sense, because I think Big E versus Roman Reigns will make a great match. Like, you know, here's the thing. Let's not just put the title on Big E because he's no longer the Intercontinental champ. Let's build up the storyline. That's the one thing I had against The Miz, against Bobby Lashley, was the fact of you didn't even let the storyline build. You gave it 2 weeks and put the title on Lashley. You're going to tell me in front of a crowd you couldn't have Bobby Lashley win that title? Or here's a crazy idea. Why didn't you just keep the title on Drew McIntyre and let Lashley win it in front of a crowd? You know, and that was another match that I wanted to talk about. I thought that match was really good too. You know, I'm okay with I'm going to attempt the finisher, but not be able to do it. Okay. But once the finisher is on, that there should be a very slim probability of you getting out. So I like the fact that Bobby Lashley kept trying to put the Hurt Lock on, and Drew McIntyre wasn't successful in doing it. I mean, was successful in blocking it, but the one time that it was locked, he tried to get out, but it wasn't coming out. Those are wrestling matches. Okay, those are wrestling matches. So I thought the whole pay-per-view as a whole was really good, and I'm anxious to see what happens after that. It's kind of a letdown with the COVID, because we know that the WrestleMania crew 9 times out of 10 is crazier than the Monday night after WrestleMania crowd is crazier than the WrestleMania crowd. And I would have loved to see maybe let them have one more night in Tampa with fans for the WrestleMania crowd and then go back to the Thunderdome. That would have made the whole Saturday, Sunday, Monday really complete the weekend. And then just go to the Thunderdome for SmackDown. That's what I thought they probably should have done. But again, I thoroughly thought that the pay-per-view as a whole was amazing. I really did. I liked it. I really, really liked it. So I thought WrestleMania was great. I had someone ask me one day, like, Nick, how come you don't talk AEW? Because I really don't like watching AEW. You know what I'm saying? I'm just going to come out and just be straight up about it. There's nothing about AEW that like I record it and I watch it when I can, but I'm not breaking any Wednesday night appointments because AEW is on. I was thoroughly blue about AEW when they named their what is like their Intercontinental or their United States Championship, the TNT Championship. Lame as hell. Some of the best, think about it, some of the best wrestlers in WCW were nothing better than a television champion like Arn Anderson. Arn Anderson is one of the best wrestlers in the world. He even admitted that he didn't think that he was world heavyweight championship material and was okay just being the best television champion. And think about it. Rob Van Dam, ECW television champion, one of the best in the world. Sabu, one of the best in the world. I think the Sandmans had it. Jerry Lynn had it. Some of the best wrestlers were TV champs. Some of the best wrestlers in WCW were TV champs. Some Nikita Koloff. I remember when who was he wrestling with? I want to say it was Tully Blanchard when he would wrestling Tully Blanchard back in the day when they were unifying the television championship between WCW and the NWA. You know, some of those best guys, but to call it the TNT championship, I think is lame as hell. Then the fact that the Lucha Brothers are on AEW further gives me a reason not to watch it. Not a fan. I am not a fan of the Lucha Brothers. Every time I watch their matches, I could point out at least 5 botches. At least 5. And that's being generous because it's too much, dude. It's too much, dude. Ray Phoenix, and I can't think of the other one, but Ray Phoenix is famous for that. I remember watching a match between the Lucha Brothers. They were wrestling who were they wrestling? They were wrestling Santana and Ortiz when they were in when Santana and Ortiz were where they were LAX, the Latin American Exchange with Conan. Dude, at one point in the match, I think it was Ray Phoenix tried to do like some type of move on Ortiz and dropped him on his neck. I'm surprised Ortiz was able to get up on his own power. Just awful, dude. So, no, you know, the AEW, I mean, I'm sure it's a good show. It's a good federation and everything. And like I said, I got like 2 months worth of AEW sitting on my DVR in case I want to go back and look at it. But again, it's nothing I'm breaking an appointment to go and go watch. Point blank, period. So, WrestleMania, again, really good show. Really good show. I actually wanted to rant a little bit about the New York Yankees and what's going on with them. You know, the baseball season, we're 2 weeks in, and the Yankees right now are losing again to the Rays. I don't think the game's over yet. No, it's not. But again to the Rays and are if I'm not mistaken, the Yankees are going on 5-9, if not 5-10, and they own the worst record right now in the American League. And I'm in a lot of these Yankee groups, and everyone's just flying off the handle. Like I did earlier. I flew off the hand. I will fly off the handle. Like, let me put it to you like this. If I see a fastball going down the middle of the plate and you swing and miss at what is a good fastball, because I know that hitting a fastball is the hardest thing to do in all sports, but if you at least try to swing at the fastball and you swing and you miss at a fastball that's 97 miles an hour, I'm okay with that. But when you're two big boppers, and even Aaron Hicks, lame ass, that for whatever reason did it too, these guys are looking at fastballs right down the middle of the plate. Bro, you can't score runs if you're not swinging the goddamn bat. Aaron Judge, 3-2 count, fastball right down the middle of the plate. Didn't even care to swing. Aaron Hicks, next at bat, 2-1 fastball right down the middle of the plate. Didn't even care to swing. Flipping the batter after that, Giancarlo Stanton, fastball right down the middle of the plate. Strike 2, slider, not even close to the strike zone. Swing at it. What are you swinging at? Everyone wants to put the blame on Brian Cashman. Everyone wants to put the blame on Aaron Boone. Everyone wants to put the blame on the pitching. But at the end of the day, the people that I hold accountable are the 9 guys that go up to the plate in Marcus Thames. Because if you're Marcus Thames, all you've been teaching these guys is to swing for the fences. There's no situational hitting. There's no hitting for contact. Like Gleyber Torres, for instance. You know, the worst thing that could have... Okay, I'll give you a prime example with Gleyber Torres. Have you ever watched the movie Major League 2? Remember when Willie Mays Hayes, which at this point was played by Omar Epps, when Willie Mays Hayes was... When the first one, he was a contact guy that stole bases. He tried to come back as this guy who was now this home run hitter. And I can't think of the manager's name, but he used to be like, I need you to be my contact hitter. I don't need you to be a guy out here hitting home runs. That's not how we are. I feel that way with Gleyber Torres. It's like, bro, I don't need you to hit 40 home runs. I need you to put bat to ball, bro. It's not that hard. So let me make sure I got this straight, because DJ LeMahieu, average-wise, is our best hitter, period. However, you're going to meet Aaron Judge for the fences, Aaron Hicks, who shouldn't be swinging for the fences, John Carlos for the fences, Gary Sanchez, who I'll get into in a second, for the fences, Gleyber's for the fences. Everyone's swinging for the fences, dude. And then when we get on base, you mean to tell me guys like Brett Gardner, Tyler Wade when he's on there, Mike Talkman when he's on there, Aaron Hicks when he's on there, and Clint Frazier when he's on there, and maybe even occasionally, if he's aggressive enough, Aaron Judge, these guys with decent speed when they're on base can't move off of first base? Like, come on, dude. I can't blame Aaron Boone. The only thing that I would blame on Aaron Boone is Aaron Boone has got to snap it to these guys about their defense. Other than that, I can't get on him about anything, because this isn't Aaron Boone's fault. Dude, I'm not firing a guy who has in 2 years won 203 games combined and say we got to fire him. That's the problem, as the Rays have now put the Yankees further into the misery they won. I can't sit here and say Aaron Boone is the problem. A guy who's never managed in Major League Baseball before has won 100 and 103 games respectively, which is the most any manager has won in his first 2 years. And Yankee fans will swear that Aaron Boone is the problem. Yankee fans will swear that Brian Cashman is the problem. But the problem right now is it's got to be the players at some point have got to be held accountable. They've got to be held accountable. You're paying Giancarlo Stanton how much money to bat 170 something? Is that Aaron Boone's fault? No, that's Giancarlo Stanton's fault. That's Marcus Thames' fault. You want to put any fault on any manager in that dugout why the Yankees are so bad right there? There's your first problem. As a matter of fact, the Yankees have 2 hitting coaches, if I'm not mistaken. The Yankees have 2 hitting coaches, and neither one of these morons can flip and tell these guys, hey, why don't you start being a little bit more aggressive and stop trying to take walks? Or how come someone can't say, hey, when you're on the bases, it's okay to try and steal. Put pressure on the pitcher. The pitchers are not uncomfortable when the Yankees are on base because the Yankees don't move. Come on, man. The Yankees don't move. Now, I know it's only April and we're only 2 weeks into the season, but the The Yankees should not be sitting right now with the worst record in the American League, and it's not the pitching's fault. I heard it the other day. Oh my God, how come Brian Cashman doesn't go out there and find other quality starting pitchers? Yak. Here's my problem. My problem is the pitching hasn't been my issue. Garrett Cole's been amazing, and outside of Domingo Germán, I thought Jordan Montgomery pitched well today. I thought that who else is on it? Jameson Taillon. I'm gonna give Jameson Taillon a small pass because this is a guy who's coming off of 2 Tommy John surgeries, so it's gonna take a little bit. But at the same time, dude, here's another thing about the Yankees. The Yankees have to do one of 2 things. You either need to trade this farm system and get better guys, or play the kids that's in the farm system. It has to be one or the other. Davy Garcia can't come up last year to showcase himself and then come in here this year and not get a spot. That doesn't make sense to me. When you decided to sing Domingo Germán to the alternate site, you either brought up Michael King to be the starter or you brought up Davy Garcia to be the starter. But this opener to now all of a sudden bringing in a long inning relief guy is dumb as balls. You mean to tell me you couldn't bring in Michael King to start the game off, or bring in Davy Garcia to start the game off, and then bring in Nick Nelson later on? Why are the Yankees still doing the opener? He said, I've seen that in today's game. Exactly, dude. Dude, Tyler Glasnow walked 4 dudes. The Yankees only managed to score 1 run off of him because Tyler Glasnow. Okay, Keith, you watched the game. Go back to that, I want to say the same inning that I was just talking about Aaron Judge being on there. Look at the last 3 times that Tyler Glasnow threw a pitch in to Aaron Judge. Full windup. You want to know why Tyler Glasnow went full windup on those 3-3-2 pitches? Because he knew good goddamn well that DJ LeMahieu was not going to run. And the only time that DJ LeMahieu did run, Aaron Judge fouled it off. On the very next pitch, Tyler Glasnow went through a full non-slide step windup and threw a fastball right down the middle of the plate that Aaron Judge decided, as a professional Major League Baseball player, to not swing at. And that drives me the most nuts. It's not Brian Cashman. I know Brian Cashman put this team together and whatnot, but I mean, at the same time, dude, the philosophy, somewhere in this whole organization, someone's gonna have to step up. Who's the leader in New York? He says, looks like they're looking for walks more than hits. Yes, all the time, bro. I love how Michael K always brings up, he says, especially with Aaron Judge, oh my God, that's Aaron Judge's like 70th 3-2 count when being down from 0-2. That's great. But if he's not getting hits or getting on base or do anything about it, then why bring up the stat? The Yankees are either too aggressive and not looking at right pitches. Like, you trying to tell me if I'm Giancarlo Stanton, I still haven't figured out what a low and away slider looks like so that I can't swing and miss at it? Come on, dude. It's ridiculous. So any Yankee fan complaining about the pitching and complaining about whatever it is, the only thing that I would get on Cashman about that, and Aaron Boone for that matter, is bring up one of the kids and let them pitch. That's why we have them down there. Dude, you're gonna tell me you can't bring up Davy Garcia? Then what's Matt Blake's job? If Matt Blake is our pitching coach, then what is his job? Just to sit there and talk to the pitchers? He's not supposed to develop them. He's not supposed to make them better. He may not figure out a few pitches here and there. Dude, we got all these studs in AAA and we can't play any of them. And it drives me nuts. It drives me absolutely nuts. No, I mean, again, it's early. We still got plenty of time. There's still plenty of baseball. But when you have Yankee fans, and here's the thing. I love how everyone's like, oh my God, Yankee fans are so classless for throwing stuff on the field. That's how I read it when I hear people talk about it's so classless. It's not classless, it's frustration. And the Yankee fan, now here's the thing. This is what I'll say. Maybe I won't condone the move because you could have hurt somebody, but I totally get it though. I get it. You mad as hell. The team that's supposed to be the AL favorites to represent the World Series has the worst record in baseball right now. Now, albeit the Yankees, I think, started off 5-8 in 2018 and won 100 games, and then they went 6-8 in 2019 and won 103 games. So, and like he said, yeah, it's too early, but I understand the frustration. Dude, the Yankees have been getting dominated by the Rays now for the last, oh my God. How many months was the season last year? 2 months? I think the Rays have lost what? In the last 20 games, maybe let's say 24 games, maybe. If you date back last year going into this year, I think the Yankees have only beaten the Rays like maybe 5 times in 24 games. That's even included the playoffs. Remember, they beat them twice in the playoffs, and then they beat them once this year. So that's too low. I would say at least maybe 7 or 8 out of 24 games. That's embarrassing because they dominated us last year. That's the only reason why they won the East, because they dominated us. He said, now if it's in August and it's the same BS, then there's a problem. Exactly. I'll even do you one better, dude. If it's May, if it's like that May going into June, when you start to position yourself to wonder if you're a buyer or a seller or not, I think that's when you start kicking it in. That's when you start panicking. Do I need to make a move? Am I going to sell? What do we do? This and that. But I still think this whole opener thing for the Yankees is stupid, dude, when you got arms that's down in the, ready to go. Seems like the only team the Rays can beat at this point is the Yankees. But again, dude, Kevin Cash doesn't need to change the game plan against the Yankees because he lets the Yankees beat themselves against the Rays. Dude, let me put it to you like this. If I'm facing Judge, Hicks, and Stanton, right? And I know all 3 of them have power, but I know all 3 of them are strikeout artists. As soon as, I would not be scared of any of the 3. I would let their aggression and their over being conservative, I'd use it against them, just like the Rays have been doing. You think when the Rays go down 3-0 to any Yankees hitter, they get nervous? No. I bet you they'd be like, okay, I'm going to throw this fastball down the plate because God forbid you don't know that on a 3-0 count, there's a great chance there's a fastball coming down the middle of the plate. I'll never understand why baseball players don't swing at a blatant fastball 3-0 down the middle of the plate. I'll never understand it, but it's another conversation for another day. So they're going to say, I'm going to throw the ball down 3-2. 3-1. Then they're like, okay, I'm going to throw them some junk because they think I'm throwing another fastball. It's fouled off. Now it's 3-2. And then there's like, watch this. Especially Giancarlo Stanton. I'm going to throw this low and away slider. He's not going to miss it. Let that slider start anywhere in the zone. Giancarlo Stanton's already swinging out and missing. He says Rays are only 7-8, but 4 of their 7 wins have come against the Yankees. That's how much we've been struggling. That's how much the Yankees have been struggling, but we'll see what happens. But I know I caught a little glimpse of that Dodgers Padres game, and you're kind of seeing a little bit why the Padres went out and put all that money in to try and compete with the Dodgers. I'm telling you what, I'm not a big fan of National League Baseball, but anytime those two teams meet up, you had best believe somehow I'm going to watch that. That's going to be a really nice rivalry between LA and San Diego. And that's why I'm so for San Diego, putting in money in that team, because at the end of the day, the Dodgers were the cream of the crop, and I think the Padres realized, look, we have a nice little bankroll. It's San Diego. It's warm. It may not be LA, but it's a nice destination. Let's try and put a team together. So you trade for Blake Snell. You trade for Yu Darvish. You make a few moves here and there. And now you're going toe to toe with the world champs. Because think about it, Colorado's kind of on the bottom coming up. San Francisco, I think, is reloading, and Arizona's kind of like in that middle where they can be good, but they never finish good. That's how I kind of feel sometimes when it comes to the Arizona Diamondbacks. But the cream of the crop of the West is going to be the Dodgers and the Padres. And you got some October baseball just with that one game yesterday. You got playoff baseball. Imagine if these two teams meet up. Dude, how can you turn the TV away? The NL West is going to be good this year. Yeah, they are. They are. I agree with you 100%. And think about it, dude. I mean, the Red Sox started off 0-3, and I know they're playing the White Sox, but man, the Red Sox came out hot after being swept by Baltimore. So I don't know. I'm not hitting panic button mode, but man, some moves have got to be made, though. Some moves have got to be made with New York. And then the worst thing is now Mets fans have leverage over Yankees fans because the Mets have played like 5 less games than the Yankees due to COVID and the snow in Colorado, and they have the same amount of wins. They have the same amount of wins. 5. It's ridiculous. Ridiculous. And I love how Cub fans come up to me talking about, oh, you guys are hot, overrated trash. Hey, those living in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. And it's not all Cub fans. It's one just in particular. So I shouldn't put all Cub fans in the same category because not all Cub fans are idiots. A lot of them might be drunks, but they're not idiots. Okay, that's a whole different ball game. They might be drunks. They might like to drink, but they're not morons. I'll give Chicago baseball fans. I used to hate on the White Sox for that. White Sox fans used to be notorious for that. They were so infatuated on the Cubs. You couldn't ask them a question about their own team in the division. You ask a Cubs fan what's going on in their division, they know everything. Man, St. Louis won today, but Milwaukee lost, so we're 2 games out from St. Louis, but Milwaukee lost, so they're still 2 games behind us, so we're not worried about them. You ask the White Sox what's going on in the division? No, but the Cubs lost today, so that's all that matters to me. Like, really? Like, I understand there's a rivalry there. Just like there's a rivalry between the Yankees and the Mets. Yeah, I'll talk trash, but it's kind of hard to flex on Mets fans right now when the Yankees aren't playing that great. I mean, you can do it, but it's a weird flex. My boy Keith is watching, and I used to say that in the NFC South groups we're in. Like, you get these idiot Saints fans. I'm not trying to veer too far off, but this is in my head right now. But you get these moron Saints fans that'll be like, where were all the Buccaneers fans for so long? Now they're just coming out of the woodworks. Kind of hard to be like, hey, man, we run the South when every year we can't get above 6 wins. It's a weird flex. Like, how can you even say something stupid like that? Like, you want me to come into the group and be like, hey, guys, Bucs fans here, we run the South when we've been the worst team in the division for like 6 years straight. I can't flex on that. You want me to flex when right now our quarterback, not like right now, but at the time right now in Jameis, when he was struggling throwing picks and turning the ball over? Come on, man. I'm like one of, if not the biggest Jameis Winston fans out there. Because Jameis Winston was my favorite quarterback when he took his first snaps against Pittsburgh and led them down the field and beat the brakes off of them on Monday night before the NFL came on, and the Jameis Winston phenomenon in Florida State, as a Florida State fan, kicked off. And when we drafted Jameis Winston, I was the first one screaming. I was the first one talking stupid. Ask Christian if he's watching or whatever. He has the video. We were at the draft. But even I can admit that I was getting frustrated when he was out there throwing some of them interceptions and everything as his biggest fan. You know what I'm saying? But I couldn't come up and be like, oh man, especially in the last 2 years, be like, hey guys, I mean, they knew I was a Bucs fan, but I can't be like, ha, look, you guys suck when, to the Saints when they're 11-5 and we're 5-11. That's a weird flex. That doesn't even make sense. Doesn't even make a little bit of sense. And that's how I am right now with the Mets. Like, I could sit here and laugh at them and talk about Yeah, that was one thing that I thought kind of rubbed me the wrong way when Yankee fans was laughing at Met fans because their games have gotten postponed. Like somehow, the Mets have a weather system and we as man can control the weather. That's another conversation for another day. Conspiracy theory, man. But you can't laugh at somebody when your team has the worst record in the American League who was considered to be favorites. So let's not attack Met fans right now. Let's just let them chill. Let them have their moments because the Mets right now, they don't look great, but they don't look terrible. They're in that in between. You know what I'm saying? There's them days, okay, so look at it like this. When your best pitcher goes out, gives up one home run, strikes out 13 Marlins, but still catches the L because you can't score, that's what I mean by they're not so great, but they're not so bad. Darnell says the Braves are terrible. Yeah, right now they're bad. Ronald Acuna Jr. isn't. But the Braves are struggling a little bit. But again, it's April. Braves bad. Oh, yeah. Hey, and shout out before I forget. This is why I need my partner back because I almost forgot, man. Shout out to Carlos Rodon on the no-hitter the other day. Man. I watched a few outs on that. I was door dashing when it happened. I tried to watch a few outs on it. Rodon looked good. Shout out to him. Put himself in the baseball history books. Ariel, what's going on? But yeah. Can't flex. Can't be flexing on Met fans right now, Yankee fans. We gotta, what's the old saying? Those in glass houses really shouldn't be throwing stones. We shouldn't be throwing stones at anybody right now. We're not playing that great. There should be no flex for many Yankees fans on that side of the panel. Okay, yeah, when the Mets lose, that's fine and everything. But I'm not going to sit here and waste time being like, look, you guys suck. And then they're just sitting there looking at us like, he says most of us. Yeah, most of us can't flex. I'm with you on that. If you have just joined in, thank you. I appreciate you guys listening. So far, I've taught baseball and wrestling. But I'm finna get into a subject that I have been doing a lot of thinking about. And hold on a second. Keith says, who do you think Buck's gonna do with that 32nd pick? You know what, Keith? I don't know. Because the question that I have is, okay, so here's the question I have with the draft. The draft, see, First off, we're in a weird position, you and I as Buccaneers fans, because in the past, if I was doing the show, or even when I was doing the sports then, and we're talking draft, we're talking Bucks 4th pick, 7th pick, 8th pick. Again, just to the point that I made earlier, we've notoriously been bad. But sitting here at number 32, at this point, and you just took the words out of my mouth, you can go at the best available. See, the Bucks, and this is going to come off weird, but I think the Buccaneers have to address the quarterback situation rather sooner than later, because Tom Brady is not going to play in a Buccaneers uniform forever. Okay. I think right now, Tom Brady says, I have 1, maybe 2 years left in me, and we need to figure something out. At the same time, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers cannot convince themselves that Blaine Gabbert is the future for Tampa Bay, which is why I stay further pissed off on why they didn't sign Josh Rosen to the actual team and maybe cut a guy like Ryan Griffin. What is Ryan Griffin still doing? He's just a roster spot, bro. He's just a roster spot. So when you had a Josh Rosen that's gone from team to team to team, basically he started off in Arizona, then new coach, new quarterback, and then went to Miami, new coach, new quarterback, and then you were able to sign him. This kid still has raw ability, which, by the way, is crazy on why the San Francisco 49ers. See, here's the thing about San Francisco that kills me. You traded up to get the number 3. You signed Josh Rosen your own damn self, thinking that he was going to be the predecessor to Jimmy G, but then now you went up and traded the 3, and there's a great chance that you're going to draft Justin Fields. He says Ian Book from Notre Dame or Kyle Trask, and Darnell, who is a huge Florida fan, says stay away from Trask. I have seen certain mock drafts that for whatever reason has Mac Jones falling 32 to Tampa. I don't see that happening. I really don't see that happening. If the San Francisco 49ers go Mac Jones, then they do Justin Fields. And I mentioned this last week where I was a little skeptical per se on Justin Fields, not based on his ability. My problem is, and I said this last week, people talk about judge the player, not the college. But it's hard for me to do that when it comes to Justin Fields, because as good as Ohio State has been college football wise, we know that their quarterbacks don't come out better in the NFL than they do in college, because I feel like a lot of the quarterbacks that come out of Ohio State are more athletes than they are quarterbacks. So unless Kyle Shanahan is going to run somewhat of that similar system to what was ran in Ohio State, I don't think Justin Fields is the guy. Now, prove me wrong. I hope Justin Fields proves me wrong. And if the San Francisco 49ers go on that route, hey, man, more power to them. But I'm saying if you're not running the option-like offense that's what's run in Baltimore and that type of college offense that was run at Ohio State, I don't think Justin Fields is that guy. He might be more of an athlete. Braxton Miller started off Ohio State quarterback turned wide receiver. athlete. JT Barrett, I felt, was a guy that had quarterback skills, but I felt was more of an athlete. Cardell Jones was a guy that could have stayed in Ohio State for a little bit longer and went too soon and never developed as a quarterback. You see what I'm saying? So that's why I'm on the fence on Justin Fields. I'm not saying that he sucks. I don't want people to put words in my mouth. I'm not saying Justin Fields sucks. I'm just saying that if people didn't want to touch him with a 10-foot pole because the offense that the pro style offense isn't even close to where it is in Ohio State, and we've seen the movie before with some of these Ohio State quarterbacks coming to the NFL, I would not be shocked. It's not going to happen, but I would not be shocked. But, I think it's kind of buyers beware. You know what you're getting yourself into because we've seen this movie before. Key says Mac Jones, if he does, that's great. And I said the same thing. I don't see it. Of all the teams that he would not pass the Bears at 20. I think if he fell down to like that 17 area, I could easily see the Bears trying to make a trade up to get Mac Jones and sit him behind Andy Dalton and Nick Foles if they're both going to end up being there, which I still think is beyond stupid. I think personally, he could benefit sitting behind them. But then again, if you're the Chicago Bears, would you draft a quarterback with this coach that kind of has one foot out of the door? Because if the Bears have another 5-11, 6-10, 4-12 season, there's no way Matt Nagy, let alone Ryan Pace, keeps their job. But then again, you never know, because I could have said the same thing about Jason Licht in Tampa with everything that went on because he was the general manager during the Lovey/Dirk Cutter years. But what did I say? Notice how a different coach with a different philosophy and changes the altitude of a team. Tampa Bay, when they drafted Devin White, could have had Josh Allen from Buffalo, who a lot of people thought was going to go to the Raiders at 3 that year, but they went with Celine Farrell. And look, Devin White is one of the better, and I will venture to go out and say it's too early for an NFL prediction right now, but I think Devin White could be the best middle linebacker in football this year. He says, as an Ohio State fan, Ohio State quarterback benefits from those fast wide receivers. Exactly, dude. Exactly. So if you're going to bring in an Ohio State quarterback, you needed to have like a Tampa-like situation. Like, let me put it to you like this. Let's say if the Bucs didn't win the Super Bowl with this talent that's on this team, Justin Fields would have been a great fit. A great fit. When you have playmakers like, I'll even take Antonio Brown out, Scotty Miller, Tyler Johnson, Chris Godwin, OJ, Cameron Bray, Leonard Fournette potentially, Rojo when he doesn't get hurt, an offensive line that's been amazing. You do, bro. We're talking about an offensive line in front of your eyes got better as the season went on. Donovan Smith went from a revolving door to looking like a top 10 left tackle that we all know he could be. Why did it wait for Donovan Smith to take the playoffs to finally realize, damn, being a left tackle may not be that hard? Chase Young, silent. Cameron Jordan, Trey Hendrickson didn't play. Cameron Jordan, silent. The Smith boys in Green Bay, silent. Kansas City's defense, silent. The cleanest jersey in those 4 games, Tom Brady. Stop it. Darnell says, here's the thing. Do we really know that Trevor Lawrence is going number 1 overall? Urban Meyer's the head man in Jacksonville. That's another solid point. I said the same thing, and I was thinking about it today. The reports have come out saying that Jacksonville is leaning towards Trevor Lawrence, but I said the same thing. If you're Urban Meyer, just you think about it. The offense that is running Ohio State is pretty much a mirror image of what Urban Meyer had there when he was the head coach. It really hasn't changed. You mean to tell me that Urban Meyer is not going to bring that same offense on this team with a quarterback that's familiar with the system? I said the same thing. I would not be shocked if somewhere there's a change of heart in Jacksonville and Justin Fields ends up being the number one pick over Trevor Lawrence, which then would send an entire domino effect, because then the Jets end up maybe getting their guy with Trevor Lawrence, which then would turn around and make maybe a Zach Wilson or even a Mac Jones at number 3 for San Francisco, which is what I think the 49ers don't want. I think they want Justin Fields. But if Jacksonville takes the carpet from underneath them and grabs Justin Fields, I don't know, it's crazy. It's going to be crazy. Keith says, D. White, Defensive Player of the Year. Easily, bro. Easily. Come on, man. We're talking about the same linebacker that had, what was it, like over 100 tackles and like more than like 8 sacks last year. He was like the only linebacker of 1 of 2 or 3 that has done it. And then you didn't see how angry and focused he was after the Washington football team game, which he had to miss because of the COVID protocol. And because for some reason Tampa Bay was put on Saturday night instead of Sunday. If he was put on Sunday, Devin White would have been on that game. Because they put him on Saturday, he wasn't able to play, and the Bucs held on long enough for him to come back. And the best player on the defensive side of the ball in those games against New Orleans, Green Bay, and Kansas City was big number 45. Keith also says Donovan Smith was the most improved player on our team, especially in the last 6 weeks, bro. Especially in the last 6 weeks. Phil says Jacksonville's taking Lawrence Bookin. I mean, I think they are too, but again, you never know with Urban Meyer. You just never know. You never know. That's all I'm saying. So, to really reel it all back, because I just threw a lot at you, Keith, to really throw back to answer the original question, which was who I think the Bucs are going to take at number 32. I think you answered it best as best guy, whoever the best guy is available. I know Darnell said to stay away from Trask, but it's not like we're asking Kyle Trask to come in here and be a world burner right off the bat. He'll be nothing more than a developmental guy. A developmental guy. You know what? I'm over tripping over my own words. I can't say developmental. Whatever. He says, I heard New England wants Fields. I heard that too, but dude, New England's way too low. Unless there is a team in the top 10, the best team I think New England could have made a deal with to try and trade up to get one of these quarterbacks would have been their own division rival, which was the Miami Dolphins. And that wasn't happening. So if that wasn't happening, unless you can somehow convince the Atlanta Falcons at 4, but I think Atlanta Falcons is sold on the tight end. Pitts, Kyle Pitts from Florida, who many people think might actually be the best player in this draft. So all of a sudden, Kyle Pitts is Tony Gonzalez and Antonio Gates. We'll see, man. I probably would have said that if he was going anywhere but Atlanta, but Atlanta's another team that's going to have to start looking at new quarterbacks. Phil says Trask will go second round to either Atlanta or Carolina, not Carolina. They just traded for Sam Darnold. You just traded for Sam Darnold, and you just went out and you still have Teddy Bridgewater. So unless you find someone to take on Teddy Bridgewater's contract, you're not going to move on from that. So you're not drafting another quarterback. Not after you just brought in Sam Darnold. That doesn't make sense. Atlanta makes sense. Carolina doesn't make sense. In all seriousness, Trask is being underrated. He's going to be a good quarterback. Of course. I agree. And that's why I'm okay with Tampa taking Kyle Trask at 32 and letting him develop. Let him learn the system, because I'm telling you right now, Bruce Arians retires when Tom Brady retires. When that happens, I think Bruce Arians will make the Buccaneers promise that either Byron Leftwich or my personal choice, which would be Todd Bowles, seeing how he was already a head coach, so he has the experience. And I like Byron Leftwich as our offensive coordinator. So if you can let Kyle Trask learn the system in 2 years, and then when Todd Bowles comes up, and hopefully Byron Leftwich stays and will work with Todd Bowles in Tampa. Come on, man, I like that. Keith says Trask will be a good quarterback depending on where he goes. I agree. Again, do I think Kyle Trask is a week one starter? No. Do I think he's going to be good eventually? Sure, of course. The only thing that sucks with Kyle Trask is Justin Fields, Trey Lance, Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson. Who's the other one I just forgot? Mac Jones. That's why Kyle Trask ain't higher, because there's 5 other quarterbacks that technically are rated higher than he is. But think about it. We, in the same exact breath, Baker Mayfield, Josh Rosen, Josh Allen. Who else am I forgetting in that draft class? Sam Darnold, Lamar Jackson, last guy picked. The most successful would probably, I guess, technically have been Josh Allen, seeing how he got to the AFC title game. But before that happened, Lamar Jackson, the last guy drafted, especially in that first round, was the highest sought quarterback. While there were so many questions on everybody else, Lamar was putting the world on notice, even though his arm wasn't all that great. The hype in Baltimore was winning was all they needed. Phil says Michael Parsons is going to look good in the Giants uniform. I could see that. He said he's not sold on Trey Lance, but Keith thinks Trey Lance is going to be very good. Trey Lance, it could either be Carson Wentz, Joe Flacco. Don't sleep on those Division II guys. I know that's not what you're doing. I know you're saying, you're not feeling them. And then I understand. I get it. Trust me, Phil, I get it. But I will say that hold on, make sure. Okay, my fault, y'all. My fault. All right. No, I get what you're saying, Phil, with Trey Lance, but I think he's going to be good in the NFL too. But we'll see, man. We'll see, because I outside some of the top teams that we've already talked about that needs a quarterback. As a matter of fact, I'm sitting here talking about the Chicago Bears, but the way that this whole nonsense that's going on with Deshaun Watson is looking, Houston might be in line for another quarterback. He says he dominated in D2 football. That's what you look for in those D2 players. Hey, I completely agree. You know, everyone wants to sleep on, Division II or lower school program kids that come out. But I mean, hell, Khalil Mack's one of the best pass rushers in the game. And where did he go to school? Buffalo? Buffalo's one of those schools where Buffalo is one of those schools that Ohio State plays when they need an opponent and says, hey, Buffalo, we need an opponent week 2. How about if I give you $1.3 million to come play us? And a small school like Buffalo, like, hold on a second. Hey, Ohio State wants to give us a 1.3 mil to play them. Oh man, that'll help us fix the Yeah, go ahead, do it. Yes, we'll accept that deal. That's what Buffalo is. Jerry Rice went to Southwest. I always get him wrong. Is it like Southwest Mississippi State or something like that? Some FCS school, championship series school, considered one of the greatest if not the greatest wide receiver of all time. Joe Flacco went to Delaware and is a Super Bowl champion. So I get what Keith's saying. Don't let the fact that he went to a Division I AA D2 football championship series, whatever we're calling them, don't let that fool you on the fact of how good Trey Lance is. And I'm with you on that. I'm with you 100% on that. So we'll see. I did want to talk some NBA because we're getting down to those last X amount of games. The NBA and the NHL both are starting to get down to that last little bit. And Mississippi Valley State. Thank you, Darnell. Keith says that Trey Lance is 6'5", 240. Let me look at some tape on Trey Lance right quick. He's not falling to 32, dude. He's not falling to 32. Trey Lance, no way. Trey Lance, top 15 pick easy. Trey Lance might end up in Houston. Houston doesn't have a first-round draft pick. Never mind. Ooh, is that team going to be bad? Oh, my God, is that team going to be bad? Ooh. Wow, Trey Lance didn't throw an interception. Keith says, I think, hey, dude, if Trey Lance fell to 32 and the Bucks picked him, so we're going to win the Super Bowl again next year. Then you figure Tom will probably be done after next year. Then you let Trey come in. You're going to have the growing pains in that first full year. So what is this? This is 20. So that's 22 win Super Bowl. 23 we'll make the playoffs, but we won't win it in 23, 24, 26, 27. Stop it. All right, I'm gonna look at tape, bro. I'm gonna look at official tape. Like I've seen some highlights here and there, but I want to look at official combine like tape. Hey, here's a crazy idea. What if the San Francisco 49ers went with Trey Lance at 3? Brady may play till he's 50. Giselle will not let Tom Brady play till he's 50. Darnell says Steph Curry has been cooking ridiculously. Dude, what do you have, like 29 3-pointers in 3 games the other night or last week? Man. The West has gotten crazy, though. Because if you didn't hear, Jamal Murray in Denver tore his ACL. He's gone. So now it's really going to be up to Nikola Jokic to keep that team together. Plus, look in LA, you got AD is starting to come back. LeBron's still kind of out right now. The one thing about the Los Angeles Lakers is they have the best front court in all of basketball. Like, I think Andre Drummond, AD, and LeBron James all complement each other so well because Andre is just your rebounds guy. He's the muscle, right? AD might be tall, but you could tell that AD doesn't, he would rather shoot and be a perimeter guy than be an inside guy, which is fine. And then you have LeBron James, who's the best basketball player in the world going right now. But once you get past that, dude, there's a lot of questions in LA. This isn't the same team last year where you had the veteran leadership of like Rondo and stuff. Like, where's the other scoring really going to come from? That's the only legit question because KCP's inconsistent. Caruso's not going to be that guy. So who's that guard that could take a little bit of pressure off of LeBron and off of AD if they have bad games? Who's that other option? We keep thinking it's Kyle Kuzma, but I feel like every time he has that one really good game, he comes back with another week and a half where he looks like total ass. And it just like doesn't make sense. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't make sense. Probably Schroeder. Yeah, Schroeder's a really good point guard too. Let me not forget about Dennis Schroeder. Dennis Schroeder. Schroeder's a really good point guard, but am I counting on him for 20 points a game? No. That's the only thing I ask about LA is who else is going to shoot the ball. Other than that, though, the league ain't ready to see Drummond and AD and the best player on the court right now. Oh, it's not confusing. Hold on. I can explain it to you right now. The play-in tournament, all right, this is real easy. So, whoever finishes 7th and 8th will play each other in a winner takes all match for the 7th spot. So let's take the Eastern Conference. Okay. It's Charlotte, Miami, Indiana, and the Bulls, right? Okay. So Miami, the Heat would play Charlotte in Charlotte in a 1-game playoff. The winner of that game is the 7th seed. So let's say Miami wins. They're automatically the 7th seed, right? Then Indiana and the Bulls will then play each other. The winner of that, whoever loses that game is out. They're donezo. The winner of the 9-10 game will then play the loser of the 7-8 game, and that game will be in the 8th spot. It makes sense. I get it. It's like one of those round robin tournaments. It's basically a round robin tournament to see who gets 7 and 8. And I know Luka Doncic came out against it. He's like, dude, why did we play a whole season and then we're going to have these round robin games? Same reason why college basketball does the same thing and no one bats an eye. You play a whole season with a tournament, and for some reason, we added 8 extra teams to put out 4 more games. Keith says it's a damn conference tournament. It's basically what it is. I think it's going to be exciting. It sounds confusing, but I think it's going to be exciting once you watch it. That's why I was so mad at baseball for deciding not to bring back the little 3-game. I like the little 3-game series to the ALDS, to the ALCS, to the what you call it. I like that. It brings excitement. See, my problem with baseball, not to get off we'll get back into basketball in a second, but my problem with baseball is the rules that we should be making, we're not making. And the rules that we shouldn't be making are being made and passed. Let me make sure I got this straight. You said you didn't want universal DH. But you said it was okay in extra innings to put a guy on second base. That's not baseball, bro. Keith, right now it looks like it's just this season. I don't know if it's going to be a yearly thing. It'll be crazy if it does turn out to be a yearly thing. But I think the only reason why they did it this year was because they started the season so late because of COVID and whatnot, that they didn't want to draw out an 82-game season. So you cut out a couple of years, right? You're going to cut out a couple of years, my dumb ass. You're going to cut out 10 games, but to sacrifice for those 10 games, you're going to bring in a round robin tournament. And I think this might be one of those things where it's like, we'll test it out. We'll see if we like it. And maybe if we do, like, hey, maybe we can run with this, see where it goes. Thank you. I wanted a universal DH too. As an AL baseball fanatic, with my team being in the American League, pitchers that hit is the stupidest thing in baseball. You can't convince me otherwise. I love this talk about this. Oh, but I'm a baseball purist. And I like when managers make I love when managers make those key moves. Trust me, I was not going to White Sox and Cubs games to watch Jim Riggleman make a double switch. And I was like, oh, that was the move we needed right there. My day is done. Let me go home. Nobody cares. Baseball put in this rule talking about a pitcher has to face at least 3 batters before you decide to take him out, unless he came in to get the final out in the inning. Another rule you don't need, because now, as I just forementioned, you take out the managerial aspect of the game. Baseball is a game of chess. If you want a game with speed, watch basketball, watch hockey, watch football. You can't watch baseball. Baseball is a game. Baseball is like championship barbecuing, low and slow. But at the end of the day, you're going to get out great results if you do it right. Speeding up the game does nothing for me when the rules don't make sense. You feel what I'm saying? Baseball's killing me. I don't get it, because look at hockey, right? Name me a rule hockey did that didn't make sense. I give you a prime example. I think the 3-on-3 in overtime in the regular season is awesome. What I wish they would do is get rid of the shootout, because the shootout isn't hockey. But if you're going to do 3-on-3 to guarantee that there's a goal that's going to be scored, because there is going to be, because that's how 3-on-3 hockey works, I would rather you make it overtime 3-on-3 for 10 minutes than only give me 5 and then there's a shootout. Because somebody is going to score 3-on-3 in 10 minutes of hockey. It may not happen in the first 5, but it's going to happen. But I thought the trapezoid was genius. Getting rid of the 2-line pass is genius. The hybrid icing is genius. Putting the netting over so fans would stop dying and getting hit upside the head over deflected pucks, genius. It's all genius. People may think Gary Bettman is an idiot and a dumbass and every other name that they try to call him, but there's not a rule they have implemented in hockey. And then to make hockey even that much more of a genius, when the playoffs come, it's do or die. All that shootout and 3-on-3 arcade hockey stuff is done with. But in the playoffs, you earn the Stanley Cup, and I love that. Oh, it's 2-2 after 3 with Game 7 on the line in the Eastern Conference Finals. You'll go to the death. And we'll go as long as it's needed. And I like that. Don't do none of that arcade shootout style nonsense. It's stupid. It's the same thing with soccer. When they figure out how, no one scored in like, what is it? 30 minutes of extra time for the golden goal. So we're going to go to penalty kicks. Bro, that's not soccer. The shootout is not hockey. Penalty kicks are not soccer. Go to the death. Somebody will figure it out. Darnell says, I said this on the podcast. If it's not the Nets or Sixers in the East, the West will win the finals again. I like Milwaukee, but not in the 7-game series. I agree with you 100%. I don't like Milwaukee because of Mark Budenholzer, and I've been saying it, and I'll continue to say it as long as he is a head coach and his teams make the playoffs. He failed. Mark Budenholzer does the same thing every single year. He's a head coach. He did it in Atlanta, and he did it last year in Milwaukee. He does not make adjustments to the game. The game make adjustments on Budenholzer, but Budenholzer won't make adjustments to the game. That's why you're up 2-0 on the Toronto Raptors 2 years ago, and they take you out in 4 straight. That's why you're 62-20 with the Atlanta Hawks, but then you get swept by the Cleveland Cavaliers. Because Mark Budenholzer does not make adjustments to the game. And that's why he's not a playoff coach. And he's going to be one of those guys that need playoff veteran coaches around him to let him know that he might need to make a change or we going to lose. He more or less doesn't have that. And that's why Milwaukee will always come up short. Even though I like the fact they locked up Drew Holiday for 4 years, $160 million. It's the least they could do to help Giannis out a little bit. But at the same time, here's the thing about Giannis. We know that Giannis does great in the regular season. But as much hell as we give playoff P in Paul George, Giannis needs to catch some heat too. Because Giannis has disappeared in a few playoff games when Milwaukee needs him the most. Which I thought it was imperative that they went out and found a second or third guy, depending on what you look at when it comes to Chris Middleton, to help alleviate some of the pressure off of Giannis. So we'll see. But, man, the Sixers are playing crazy basketball. Here's the thing. Like at the end of the day, I feel like there's a lot of questions that can be asked and answered in the Eastern Conference. Like, for instance, with the Philadelphia 76ers, my question, just like I questioned Mark Budenholzer, I'm going to question Doc Rivers. Prove to me that you can get back into the finals. Because let me put it to you like this. I flirted with putting Doc Rivers in that old word category. I just never did it. My fault. I just never did it because I'm not ready to put him there quite yet. However, what I'm starting to believe with Doc Rivers is a guy who needs that real veteran on his bench. If that's one thing that I felt that the Los Angeles Clippers lacked to a heightened extent when he was in LA, was that one true veteran, that Juwan Howard, that James Jones. That guy may not play a lot, but has that championship pedigree. So when the coach is taking care of stuff and the other coaches, you have that one veteran guy on the bench who can talk to some of these guys. He didn't have that in LA. You know what I'm saying? And you could be like, oh, well, what about Chris Paul? Chris Paul wasn't that veteran guy. He hasn't been to the show. Chris Paul ain't been to the show. They didn't really have that guy that's been to the show, that's put in the blood, sweat, and tears in his prime and is now trying to rub off some of his knowledge. Chris Paul wasn't that dude. So my question with Philadelphia is health, obviously, and then what Joel Embiid we gonna see? Remember, Brent Brown got this team all the way to at least was it the Eastern semis? Because that miraculous shot that Kawhi Leonard hit on Joel Embiid, the game that made him cry, I thought was in the semis. I didn't think that one was in the conference final. I think that was in the semis. But still, man, crazy. Oh, yeah, and by the way, let's not talk about the red hot New York Knicks right now, though. It was the East semis. Thank you. Knicks have won 5 straight. They play New Orleans tomorrow afternoon. And as I mentioned earlier, that's the improvement of the New York Knicks. The Knicks in the past would never have been a team that the NBA would have considered even putting on national TV more than once. Now you're getting a Sunday afternoon, right after church, prime time or matinee game. Please do not disappoint. I am begging the Knicks to please don't disappoint. That's all I'm asking. Because I'll tell you this. I was just reading yesterday. Was it yesterday? Yeah, it was yesterday. Where Jimmy Butler called out the Miami Heat for playing too soft. Because, the Miami Heat have lost, what is it, like, I almost want to say, is it like 6, 7, 8 games in a row? I think they've lost 8 in a row, 10 of their last 13. They haven't been that, they haven't been that great. It hasn't been that great. However, Jimmy Butler was saying how they've been playing soft. Now, I was watching the Knicks game yesterday on ESPN on the app yesterday. while I was DoorDash driving yesterday. I was out working, watching the game. Julius Randle put up a crisp 45 on the Dallas Mavericks. First of all, let me say this about Dallas, okay? I understand that Luka Doncic is a really good player, but at what point does Luka Doncic stop taking that step back three? Because I'm letting you know right now, it doesn't work against the Knicks. If I'm not mistaken, the Knicks have beaten Dallas in the last 3 years in Dallas. I think KP has been with the Dallas Mavericks now 3 years. And in all 3 years, the Knicks, whether KP is on the floor or not, the New York Knicks have defeated the Dallas Mavericks in Dallas. And we know that the Knicks struggle in the state of Texas. They struggled. When James Harden was in Houston, the New York Knicks hadn't beaten the Houston Rockets in Houston in damn near double-digit years. If I'm not mistaken, the last time they did, Jamal Crawford hit a three when T-Mac was still a member of the Houston Rockets. That's how long it's been. But this improved Knicks team right here, R.J. Barrett reminds me so much of Jimmy Butler. If you look at the two paths, what Tom Thibodeau did with Jimmy Butler when he was in Chicago and what you're seeing right now with R.J. Barrett is very similar. Because I remember when Jimmy Butler was just a raw basketball player, had come from Marquette. He was a second-round draft pick. His story was, I think his mom kicked him out of the house when he was 15 or younger. I forget what it was, but she kicked him out of the house at a young age. He went to go live with another family while he went through school. And then he went to Marquette. He was homeless for a little while, went to Marquette, was drafted by the Bulls, and now is considered one of the best players in the NBA right now. Now, R.J. Barrett's story is not similar, but the styles of play, when Jimmy Butler first came into the NBA, he was raw. You know, he kind of had a jump shot, wasn't that good defensively. I mean, he was okay, but he wasn't great. He wasn't the leader. R.J. Barrett is going through the same exact thing. Last year, struggled with his jump shot, wasn't confident in himself, tried to do too much. There really wasn't any structure in New York anyway, you know, with the firing of David Fizdale, and then you turn around and then you bring in Mike Miller, and Mike Miller's not really like an NBA head coach per se, but you know, he did great in the D leagues, and the Knicks kind of responded too well. But R.J. Barrett's game was off. But if you look at R.J. Barrett now, you're seeing the R.J. Barrett that was hyped around, that was surrounded by the hype, even with Zion Williamson being in Duke. And we mentioned this before on this show. Remember when R.J. Barrett was in, when it was R.J., Zion, and Cam Reddish, just to name the three. I mean, there were other guys, but just to name those three guys. The consensus was that Zion was the hype machine. He was the all-around. He's the monster. He's the man amongst boys. Cam Reddish, a lot of people thought, had the higher upside. But there's a lot of people that thought that R.J. Barrett was potentially could be the best player on that team. And you're seeing it now. R.J. Barrett's jump shot is so much better now than it was last year by whole leaps and bounds. R.J. Barrett last year couldn't hit a three if he wanted to. This year, he's hitting contested threes. And when he's wide open, he's hitting the shots. He's getting to the hoop. He's slashing to the hole. There's a lot of R.J. Barrett. There's a lot of Jimmy Butler and R.J. Barrett. And if you're a Knicks fan like me, first of all, I owe the Knicks a huge apology because I'm the same guy that came onto this show and ripped the Knicks for letting Boston, letting Miami, letting the Chicago Bulls, all get better per se, while the New York Knicks just sat and didn't do anything. And for what it's worth, when the trade deadline was over with, the Knicks fell off a little bit. They lost 4 games in a row. They started getting to the dry spell. The Chicago Bulls started getting a little heat. The Miami Heat started playing a little better with Victor Oladipo coming back. The Boston Celtics, I know Evan Fournier was garbage the first game, but they started winning a little bit better, and even going further back, even before the trade deadline, look at Atlanta. Atlanta fires their head coach, brings in a new guy. And this is after John Collins had come out and said that he didn't like the scheme because Trae Young, who I think is more of a shoot first and pass first, point guard, was messing up the flow of the offense. Since that coach was fired and they bring in the new guy, now all of a sudden they're 4th in the East. And the New York Knicks stand pat. But the Miami Heat, as Darnell pointed out, has lost 10 of their last 16 games. The Boston Celtics are still having questions about them, what's wrong with them. And the Atlanta Hawks, they've been playing well. They didn't smooth down a little bit, but they still good. The New York Knicks are a half game behind both Atlanta and Boston for the 4th spot in the East. Now, I don't know if the NBA does co-managers of the year, because if you're going to ask me who I think is manager of the year, I still think Quinn Snyder is up ahead, but Tom Thibodeau has to be. Tom Thibodeau is like that horse that as soon as they hit that last leg of the furlong and they start hitting the horse to get him to go faster. Tom Thibodeau right now is that horse that's getting hit and is responding well and is creeping up on Quinn Snyder. Because I can't deny what Quinn Snyder has done in Utah, which has been a phenomenal job. But if I was to sit here and tell you at the beginning of the year that Tom Thibodeau would take this Knicks team, this mismatch patchwork Knicks team, which is what it really is, to have a record as good, to have 30 wins at this point in the season, and is a half game behind the 4th spot, you would have called me a homer. But lo and behold, on April 17, 2021, at approximately 4:53 p.m., the New York Knicks are sitting 6th place, a half game behind both Atlanta and Boston for the 4th spot, being 2 games above 500. That, my friends, for a franchise that everyone said, isn't relevant anymore, isn't cool anymore, we hate James Dolan, all the nonsense that has come everybody's mouth. And the guy that the Knicks should have hired years ago when they ceremoniously let go of Mike Woodson, which I didn't like that move, and I still don't like that move to this day, has a team, a dysfunctional team in the 6th spot in the East with an above 500 record. I forgot about Monty Williams in Phoenix. I forgot about Monty Williams. I agree with you on Monty Williams. I forgot about Monty Williams. Darnell said he has it, Quinn Snyder, Monty Williams, and then Tom Thibodeau. I forgot about Monty Williams. Yeah, dude, Phoenix is really flipping good. How Chris Paul has never won MVP, I'll never understand. But what you're seeing right now is why the Knicks really consider trading for Chris Paul. Could you imagine if the Knicks had traded for Chris Paul? Please, dude. Please. You mean to tell me my starting lineup would have been Chris Paul, RJ Barrett, Reggie Bullock, Julius Randle, and then Mitchell Robinson in and out, but you're going to have Nerlens Noel, who, yeah, by the way, yesterday absolutely blocked the stuff out of Finney Smith yesterday. Nerlens Noel, Julius, Reggie, RJ, and who I just mentioned, Chris Paul. And then coming off the bench, you're going to give me Alec Burks, Derrick Rose, IQ, Obi Toppin, and Taj Gibson. The Knicks would be 2nd in the East. I'd say that right now. Yeah, I'd take that back. We'd be 3rd. See, and the funny thing is, Darnell, I answered your Nets part. I mean, your Sixers part. But the only thing with the Nets for me is chemistry. Can Kyrie? Can James Harden? Can KD? Like, think about it. LaMarcus Aldridge just retired. I almost forgot to mention that. LaMarcus Aldridge chose to retire from the NBA when he felt that he had an irregular heartbeat and was like, "No, I'm not going to risk my life," and decided to retire from the NBA. So that's one big man you missed. That now you don't have anymore. So you lose LaMarcus Aldridge. But can KD, can James Harden, can Kyrie all coexist at the same time on the same floor? Because they really all haven't played a lot of games together. Because it seems once Kyrie is out, it's KD and James Harden. And then once Kyrie comes back, KD all of a sudden is hurt. Then once KD's ready to come back, now James Harden's hamstring doesn't work. You know? I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. You know? But at the same time, if those three can coexist, like the question is, can they figure out who's going to lead, who's going to get the ball, who's going to take the shot? Can they agree on, maybe there's going to be a day where I'm hot, you're not, so I'm just I'm gonna take over and like you be my Scotty. Basically, who's going to be my Mike? Who's going to be my Scotty? That's really the question. Who's going to be my Michael Jordan? Who's going to be my Scottie Pippen? If you can figure it out, you're going to be all right. Cause Darnell says good point, but can anyone score 120 points to beat him? I don't know. That's a good point. Like maybe Philly can hang in there. I don't know. Milwaukee's are hit or miss. Atlanta's got a lot of dynamic scores, but I don't know. I know the Knicks can't. If you look at all the teams, I'll go through 1 through 10 because technically 7, 8, 9, 10 are still playoffs. Philly, maybe. Milwaukee, maybe. Atlanta, maybe. Boston, maybe. But then the Knicks, no. Or Charlotte, no. The Bulls, no. The Pacers, no. What'd I say? Miami, no. Yeah, so so 6 through 10. Knicks, Heat, Charlotte, Indiana, Chicago, all knows. And when I say possibly with the Nets, see the Nets, I would say more probably than maybe, but the Milwaukee Bucks are definitely more maybe than possibly. The Atlanta Hawks are more maybe than possibly. The Boston Celtics are maybe more maybe than possibly. But I think the Nets are more possibly than maybe. So yeah, it's you're right. Because the Brooklyn Nets are on pace to break like all kinds of offensive records at the rate that they've been going. But can anybody outmatch that? Who knows? I mean, we'll see. But I like to see all three of them on the floor. At some point, all three of those guys got to get on the floor. That's really the only question I have with the Brooklyn Nets. But here's the thing about the West, though. Like I was thinking about this today when I was at the gym, and I was asking myself. I said, am I the only one that feels like Utah is going to let us down in the playoffs this year? Let's take a little trip back to memory lane. Remembering Avery Johnson's last year in Dallas? What year was that? 2012, I want to say. Because wait a minute, was it 2012 or 2011? It was one of the two. In Avery Johnson's last year as head coach of the Dallas Mavericks, they were the number 1 seed in the team, had won like over 60 games that year. Lost to an H-seeded upstart, up-tempo Golden State Warriors team led by Baron Davis. Let's say the round robin tournament goes around and it's the Golden State Warriors against the Utah Jazz. You mean to tell me this Warriors team can't beat this Jazz team in a 7-game series? I think they can, especially if Steph Curry is just going to hit Harlem Globetrotter shots from everywhere in the absolute arena. This man's range is so infinite, it's unreal. As a matter of fact, today is the anniversary of when he hit that long-ass 3 against Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant and the Oklahoma City Thunder in the year they won 73 games, but ultimately lost to LeBron James in the NBA Finals. I think that Golden State team can beat that Utah Jazz team in a 7-game series. I feel like, I'm not saying that it's going to happen. I just keep having this feeling. I feel like the Utah Jazz are just going to really be, they're going to be that team that ends up getting upset. We'll see. But like I said, it's a lot of basketball going around. And I'm just glad that the Knicks are on, because when I go to the gym tomorrow, you already know what I'll be watching while I'm doing cardio. I was watching the Rangers and the Devils play their game earlier today, and the Rangers beat them again. And I could have done another 30 minutes on the cardio. I was sweating. Straight glistening, straight Niagara Falls on the treadmill, but I wasn't even paying attention to the time. I wasn't paying attention to the time so hard that I could have easily went. I didn't even know the treadmill was about to hit cool down. That's how much I wasn't paying attention. I was watching the Rangers game, and then I was listening to Shade 45 on the Sirius XM app, and just putting those two together made today's workout so great. So I got all this unbound freelance energy rummaging through my veins. It's coursing through my veins like a poisoning saw. So tomorrow when I watch the Knicks and Pelicans tomorrow, I'm excited, man. It's so much fun. And bro, and here's the funny thing. I love how people are like, oh my God, the Knicks suck. They still suck. As long as James only here, they suck. Blah, 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 blah. Dude, I thought Austin Rivers said best. When they asked Austin Rivers before he fell out of favor and got traded, they said, how come you wanted to join the Knicks? And he said, because it's so easy to go to a team and win a championship ring. But when you're a part of a rebuild, especially a team like New York, there's a lot of prestige behind it. And think about it. Think about okay, can I be honest with New York Knicks fans? Can I really be honest with you guys? At what point do we realize that us not getting Zion Williamson is more of a blessing in disguise? It's not a diss towards Zion. It's the fact of we wouldn't have this Julius Randle if Zion Williamson got drafted by the Knicks. That's why that when RJ Barrett came to the Knicks, there's a lot of things that RJ Barrett said and did at his press conference and the week leading up to the conference that let me know that RJ Barrett should be a Knick for life. When you have a kid who wants to be in New York, that wants to play in New York, that loves the prestige of New York, that's been in Madison Square Garden before, he's been there. He wants to be a Knick. He knows the prestige and everything. And you pair up that kid with the skill set of this Julius Randle. Could you imagine if we just had Zion Williamson? Who else would we have? We wouldn't have RJ. Unless the Knicks made some miracle deal, we wouldn't have R.J. Barrett. We wouldn't have Julius Randle. This team may not be sixth in the East. See, everything happens for a reason if you take the right course, the right path. If everything falls in line like it's supposed to, sometimes I feel like I'm almost preaching in church sometimes, because sometimes what ends up happening, and this is a lesson that I've been, really growing up and everything to start to learn, but there's sometimes where certain things happen that you may not want to happen at the time, and you get all pissed off and everything, and you're like, oh, this is not what I wanted. But somewhere down the line, you're going to look back at that one incident that didn't happen in your life, and you're going to be like, you know what? That built me. That made me. That turned my life around. This happened. That happened. And as a matter of fact, go ahead and mark this on April 17th at this part of the show, because I have a good chance that for me in my own personal life that I'm going to be revisiting this in the next couple of months. But with that being said, when I pertain that same lessons to sports, when all the Knicks fans were crying and all that other stuff, when we were so close to that number one pick, I said, okay, so we missed out on John Morant. So we don't have the point guard that we want, and we don't have the big guy that we want. But the one thing that I thought that you kind of need in this NBA that the Knicks didn't have, we didn't have that potential 2 or 3 that could dominate the games for us. Like the Celtics have Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, or like the Lakers have LeBron. The Clippers have PG-13 and Kawhi. The Warriors have Klay Thompson. The Knicks never had that. They never had that guy. And when we did get that guy, it was past his prime, T-Mac. Like a T-Mac. You know what I'm saying? But getting R.J. Barrett almost opens the door for us to bring in this Julius Randle, and then you bring in Tom Thibodeau. And now that you look back, you almost damn near want to convince Zion Williamson, when his contract comes up in whatever it is in New Orleans, would you like to come to New York? And see, this is what I've been talking about, dude. You attract people to come to your team when you win games. When you're not competent, no one's going to come to you. The reason why the Brooklyn Nets look so attractive after last year was because they were a team on the come up. Here's a team that was finished 6th in the East, and I forget who they upset to even get into the second round, but they played tough, and it made it a destination to go. And I kept saying that I felt like the New York Knicks could follow in the same path, where no one's asking you to win a championship this year, but just be competitive, win games, make the right decisions. The Knicks under Leon Rose, for what it's worth, has made the right decisions. They drafted Obi Toppin. A lot of people thought we should have gotten Tyler Halliburton. We got Obi. I think Obi Toppin can really be another Amari Stoudemire if he learns when to pick and roll, when to pick and fade, when to pick and pop. Obi can shoot the basketball. He just has no confidence because I think he's trying too hard. But give these teams a whole camp. Let them work with some of the guys. You made a nice draft pick in IQ, and he's really worked out. And you did the best thing the entire Knicks organization could have done, which was bring in Tom Thibodeau. Tom Thibodeau alone has made this team relevant. But he brought in a competent coaching staff. And I still miss Mike Woodson, and I'm still going to root for him in Indiana unless they ever play UConn, because I like Mike Woodson, and I think he's a really good head coach. So I don't have nothing against Mike Woodson. And And again, the Knicks have done everything right under Leon Rose, including right now not making any trades at the trade deadline. Now that says even though Utah won 42 games and Phoenix won 40, the West will go through LA once again. The Lakers are still the team to beat when LeBron and AD returns. Now the Clippers look good as expected. One name, Rajon Rondo. Rajon Rondo is that veteran that has really put the Clippers together. Like Patrick Beverly is, he's a tough guy, scrappy guy. He's a defensive guy, but when you need points, Pat Beverly ain't that dude. When you need a felicitator on the floor, Patrick Beverly's not that dude. Like think about it. Even though Kawhi won that ring in Toronto, you still needed Kyle Lowry, Fred VanVleet. Those guys, along with Kawhi Leonard, really help space the floor. Kind of help felicitate things and let things set up. While while they were facing the Warriors, but Rajon Rondo's that guy. He did it in Los Angeles last year. You saw it last year. You know what I'm saying? So you saw that last year. And now with the Clippers, now he can be that glue that kind of ties everything together. It's like making a roux for a cheese sauce. If that's the direction you want to go, I don't need roux to make cheese sauces. Surprise. I mean, you can if you want. But here's a secret. If you really want to make good Alfredo sauce, just use heavy whipping cream, bro. Surprise! You want to make a great cheese sauce? Put in a little heavy whipping cream, bro. Surprise! I bet you any money in the world it'll taste better than flour and butter. Roux is something that I don't like putting in milk products. You want to thicken up your Alfredo sauce with the heavy whipping cream? Add in a little extra cheese. It'll all combine itself together. Surprise! Give you guys tips. Steph Curry going for a 10th 30-point game tonight in Boston. Does he score 30 again? Not only do I want him to score 30 again, I want them just to beat Boston. Do that for me. So the Knicks can creep up to that 5th spot without having to play. Shoot, I'm all for that. Well, we're looking at the clock, dude. I'm like 15 minutes away, dude. I can't believe that I've been sitting here talking for 2 hours. But it's been great. It's been amazing. It's been wonderful. It's been exciting. But I'm excited, man. I told you, I said what I say early in the show, that Madison Square Garden is hot. It's because the Rangers are out here just beating up on the Devils like they're supposed to. And piss off to the New York Islanders, who have been dominating the Boston Bruins all year. And now when the Rangers really needed the Islanders to step up, they look like ass in the last 2 games. Dude, blow it out of your ass with that nonsense. I know tanking when I see it. Little brother don't want to help out big brother, so they just come out there and look like crap. Dude, screw you. Who roots for a classless organization like the New York Islanders, a.k.a. the Fish Sticks? Bunch of dorks. What a bunch of dorks. Yeah, no, I really need Golden State to beat Boston tonight. And meanwhile, the Rangers are still 2 points behind Boston with the win today. That puts us 2 points behind Boston. So the Knicks chasing the Boston Celtics for the 5th spot, and the Rangers chasing the Bruins for the last spot in their division. So we'll see what's going to happen. Hockey, I think, has like 12 games left. And one thing I've never noticed, I haven't seen on my Facebook as of late, is Hawks win. I saw a video the other day of Jacob Vrana, I think his name is, the kid out of in Detroit. Came out of the penalty box and on a straight up beeline went in and scored on a breakaway. Darn it, so I don't know. Boston seems to be finding themselves now. As in the Celtics, I hope not. Shoot. Well, they sure beat the mess out of us earlier in the week when the Knicks was on that slump. Oh, and think about it like this, dude. Freaking the Knicks beat Dallas yesterday without Alec Burks, who is, in my opinion, the veteran leader on this team. He's like our 3-and-D guy. He's kind of like that guy that slows everything down when he feels like the Knicks are trying too much, and is our best 3-point shooter and maybe our 3rd best scorer on the team, but that's not named RJ and Julius Randle. Didn't even have them yesterday, and they still beat Dallas on the road. Someone better start telling Luka Doncic stop all that step back 3 nonsense. Every step back, I know he had a few threes yesterday, but the threes that he did hit were ones where he was set. Every time he plays against the Knicks and then the Knicks put the clamps on him, he does the step back 3 and leaves them all short. It never ends. I'm not saying Luka sucks. I think Luka's raw. Luka damn near put up 20 and 20 yesterday. But it was all for naught. It was all for the Yale. And I have a feeling that at the end, when this is all said and done, there's a great chance that I might be apologizing to Knicks fans that told me to wait until the summer. Because I can guarantee you right now that there is going to be a free agent, that's looking at the Knicks right now and says, you know what? Let me play for Tom Thibodeau. I would have said Jimmy Butler. That would have been great. Could you imagine Jimmy Butler and RJ playing on the same team in New York? Raw. I would love to see Jimmy Butler with these Knicks on this team. Because look at it like this. What is one thing that Tom Thibodeau has really instilled on Jimmy Butler is Jimmy Butler doesn't settle for losing. That's what got him in so much trouble in Minnesota. In Minnesota, the only 2 people that actually gave a damn about winning games was Tom Thibodeau and Jimmy Butler. So when Jimmy Butler is going out in scrimmages against the 3rd team, beating the starters in a scrimmage game, that's why he got frustrated. But you can tell that this Knicks team right here, for the majority part, there's times when they lose it, but on the majority part, is so much more focused than they have been in the past. And that's why, I've always watched Knicks games, and the only time I ever turn off Knicks games is when I feel like they quit. But this year has been very exciting to watch them. And everyone's like, oh my God, Knicks suck. But they've struggled, but this year they don't suck. They're not. We're not talking about the New York Knicks being championship contenders. No, nobody said that. But they don't suck. People are gonna say, "Oh, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers suck." You guys, Packer fans do that the best. They be like, you guys only won a Super Bowl for the first time in so long. Yeah. But we won one more a whole lot sooner than Aaron Rodgers has in the last decade. Chew on that. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to be ending it soon. I'm not going to end it now. I'm going to go like 6 more minutes. I think 6 minutes. I'm at 2 hours. Show enough. So that's when, hey, I might rock that tonight. That sure is hot. My fault, y'all. I'm over here. So once again, I'm put my girlfriend on a camera here, but she got me this real nice African print shirt. It looks pretty hot. And what is it? It's like 60 some degrees here in Houston, so I won't sweat in it. Unless all my orders are going up to the 3rd floor, which will piss me off. 3rd floor, no elevator on top of that. That's the worst about delivering, is that they'll stiff you, and you're like, whatever, it's right down the street. I'll knock it out. Can you bring in an apartment complex, 3rd floor, no elevator, and I don't have a gate code so you can get in? Psst. Keep playing with me. I'll leave this food right here in this leasing center. You bring your ass down here, gonna get it. I'm just kidding. I figured out a way to get in. Darnell says Pelicans versus Knicks will be a good appetizer tomorrow before Nets Heat playing South Beach. Agreed. I agree 100%. I knew the Pelicans and Knicks played tomorrow in the afternoon. I just didn't know they were going to be on ESPN. I did not know they would be on ESPN. They were actually supposed to be on ESPN earlier in the week when they beat the Lakers. But because, no AD and no LeBron. And then, I watched this really good show I listened to this really good show on Fox Sports, especially on the weekends when I'm out late working. This guy's name is Arnie Panic, is a huge Knicks fan. And he was like, man, I can't believe the Knicks aren't on TV. And his partner was like, well, the Knicks suck. Again, no, they don't this year. They don't. They're actually really good. They're actually enjoyable to watch. And if I'm not mistaken, I think the Knicks still have one West Coast trip coming up here pretty soon. Because they still haven't played either LA teams in LA. At least I don't think they have. I'll have to double check that and see. Because I think I don't know why I think maybe they played the Clippers out on the West Coast. Because I know they went and played Sacramento, and I know they were out and they beat Golden State. And then there was another team. I think they maybe played Utah. They did. They played Utah. They lost to them out west. And then they did the Texas trio already. They were just in Dallas. They lost to San Antonio. But I think when they played Houston, I think it was here. I have to take a look and see. I'll tell you what. Let me find out the Knicks are coming to Houston, coming up here pretty soon. I told y'all last week I've yet to be to the Toyota Center. That's where the Rockets play. Let me look at the schedule and find out the Knicks still got one more trip to Houston. You already know where I'm at. Fun fact of the day, did you know that Houston is the 4th largest city in the United States? And I believe it. Man. Houston, size-wise, it's like Chicago. Just Houston doesn't have as tall and cool buildings like Chicago does, and the feud's not as great as Chicago is, but everything else is pretty much on point. I mean, dude, Houston's a really nice city. It really is. And the crazy thing is, Georgette and I haven't even tapped into his potential quite yet. We haven't. You know, Texas is just now getting to 100%. I mean, they already were 100%, but people are starting to get more comfortable going out. So yeah, it's all good down here in Texas. So I was going to tell you guys that I have a surprise for you. Wait a minute. May the 2nd. What's May the 2nd? May the 2nd is a Monday. Is it? Hey, Darnell, what's May 2nd, bro? Is that a Monday or a Sunday? Because if it is a Monday, I may be able to go. I was gonna say I have a surprise for you guys, but oh, that's a Sunday. I'm not gonna be able to go, and I will let you know why I won't be able to go when I show you my surprise next week. I have a surprise for everybody next week. Mac will probably be back next week, and I'm trying to make sure I got everything. Took wrestling, Major League Baseball, hockey, basketball. And then in wrestling, dude, Drew McIntyre got another title shot. Didn't see that one coming, boss. And then the pay-per-view is already in like 2 or 3 weeks. Bro, I still haven't gotten outside of WrestleMania yet. Can we wait before we're starting to promote other pay-per-views? And this one is called WrestleMania Backlash, whatever that means. I don't know, man. The WWE, I'm not saying that you need to bring up some NXT guys and bring in fresh blood, but I'm starting to get there. Dude, the triple threat match on Raw was Braun Strowman, Drew, and Randy Orton to figure out the number one contender against Bobby Lashley for the WWE title. And if we're gonna be 100% real about that, does that really excite anybody? We just saw Drew lose. There has to be a legit reason why Braun Strowman never really got another title run after he was already Universal Champ before. And then Randy Orton. Of the three, I would have preferred Randy Orton. But to be honest with you, though, and I was thinking about this when I was in the shower earlier where I do my best thinking. To be honest with you, I never liked that the WWE broke up the Hurt business. And I'm going to do you one better. The WWE has a horribly bad habit, especially when it comes to stables, not utilizing them correctly. And I'll even do you one better, especially with the black stables. Allow me to reiterate, okay? Remember the Nation of Domination? Now, New Jack will come out and say how it was terrible and this, that, and everything else. But, it's New Jack. Who knows? But if you ever watched the shoot interview with Ahmed Johnson came out and said that Vince McMahon, when he turned heel and joined the Nation, He said 2 weeks after that happened, Vince McMahon pulled him into a room and sat him down with all the writers. And in this video, he on the TV, he had a still video. And on the still video was Mark Henry, The Rock, Farouk, D'Lo, and Ahmed Johnson. Now, I forgot to look it up, but I'm going to guesstimate here. I know for a fact that The Rock is 6'5", 275. I know for a fact that Kama Mustafa, many people know him as the Godfather, is at least 6'7", 6'8". Ahmed Johnson, 6'5", 200 plus. We already know Ron Simmons is the freaking Mack truck. D'Lo Brown, I think it's like 6'3". Vince McMahon made him look at that video and said that if I keep on having you with the Nation of Domination, how am I going to convince the wrestling world that anybody in my locker room can beat the six of you together? And he broke up the Nation of Domination. He took Ahmed out of the Nation of Domination. I think that happened. I think that when the New Day started, that was the direction they wanted to go. But because that they were still kind of in the PG era, that's not the way they went. However, for what it's worth, the New Day that is now, for the most part, it has been enjoyable, and the character is over. It's been over for a minute. Had this been somewhere in the attitude / ruthless aggression era, Big E, Xavier Woods, and Kofi are all heels. It's an all-black faction, all heels. And that's what I feel like they did too soon with the Hurt Business. They either did it too soon, or Vince McMahon had the similar idea. Because if you're going to have Bobby Lashley, who's like 6'6", 275, be your world's heavyweight, not 6'6", he's more like 6'4", 6'5", 275, be your world heavyweight champion, and he's the leader of the Hurt Business, how am I going to convince anyone that with him as your leader and as MVP as your mouthpiece, that anyone could beat you guys to be tag team champions? And that's why they broke them up. Vince doesn't put much value on stables and tag teams. Okay, true. I think it depends on which stable and which tag team, though. Because you are right. I felt that what do they call themselves now? The Revival, when they were the Revival in the WWE, I thought they should have had much longer championship reigns than they did. The Viking Raiders, whatever they were in NXT is who they should have been now. What's another good tag team that I mean, but think about it. Like I said, it depends, because the Usos had many tag team runs. The New Day had many tag team runs. The Street Profits had many tag team runs. So it all depends on who you're talking about, who you're talking to. It all depends. But I feel like Vince McMahon, because a lot of the black wrestlers that are coming in are just like cut and swole. That Nation of Domination piece is by far the most hilarious story that I've ever heard. He was like, think about it, dude. Think about it. He basically went to Ahmed Johnson and said, I can't put DX over and make it believable if I have 6 of the biggest dominant wrestlers in the game in the same stable. Oh, by the way, they all happen to be African American. I can't get the wrestling world to believe that. You think that I can get Triple H and X-Pac and the Road Dogg and China and badass Billy Gunn. You think that those 5 can beat y'all 5? It's not even, I wouldn't even throw China on. She was a mainstay. But let me tell you this. If I put Triple H, Shawn Michaels, the New Age Outlaws, and X-Pac up against Ahmed Johnson, The Rock, Farouk, D'Lo, and Kama Mustafa, and let Mark Henry hang out of the ring so he can flirt with China like he used to do, there's no way in hell DX wins that match and that it's believable. There's no way. X-Pac alone probably weighs the same, like maybe, I don't know, The Rock's lower torso. The Rock or X-Pac can't beat The Rock. And it's for those reasons why I was always against putting the World Heavyweight Championship on Rey Mysterio, because it is not believable. See, people can say, Nick, what about Eddie Guerrero? Eddie Guerrero's almost the same size as Rey Mysterio, but Eddie Guerrero was somewhat creative in his wins. Rey Mysterio's not that guy. Remember, Eddie Guerrero won the Undisputed Championship by beating Brock Lesnar by reversing an F5 on the belt. Rey Mysterio ain't that kind of wrestler to do something like that. But it's not believable for me to think that, okay, Jack Swagger win. I think he won the Royal Rumble. I forget what made him the number 1 contender against Rey Mysterio, but he becomes number 1 contender against Rey Mysterio. And then you're going to tell me that this little 5'5" Rey Mysterio is going to beat 6'3" wrestling phenomenon, and I mean like actual wrestling phenomenon, and what's his name? In Jack Swagger? You expect me to believe that? No. Intercontinental Championship? Maybe. Cruiserweight Championship? Maybe. Tag Team Championship? Sure. World Heavyweight Championship? Hell no. And think about it. As long as Vince McMahon is still alive and winning and running the WWE, no one under the size of Seth Rollins will ever win. I take that back. No one under the size of AJ Styles will ever win another heavyweight championship. As a matter of fact, I will do you one better. One of my favorite moments of WrestleMania was Kevin Owens beating Sami Zayn. And as Darnell as my witness, because he was on the same WrestleMania pregame show that I was on, I said earlier, Darnell, that I was half right on Nia Jackson and Natalya. Natalya put her in the sharpshooter but didn't make her tap. And then I said that I thought that Big E would lose his Intercontinental Championship. And I made that comment not even thinking that Big E is from Tampa and that's where they were at. So when down the line, like around SummerSlam or so, when they start pushing Big E now, give me Survivor Series, he's world champ. If not before then, by Survivor Series, Big E is champ. Easily. So, but next week we'll get into more wrestling. We'll recap. I watch Raw and NXT. Thank God NXT is on Tuesdays now. I watch Raw and NXT and SmackDown and stuff. And then when we come back on the show next week, we'll break that down, and then we'll recap another week of sports, which is the NBA, the NHL as we get closer to playoff time. Major League Baseball, the marathon is underway. Hopefully the Yankees will get better. We'll talk about all that stuff. Any UFC stuff coming up, we'll bring Mac on. And then again, I promised this last time, but I'll try and do it again this time. But we'll try and get Christian on as we'll talk some NFL draft coming up. A lot of NFL draft questions in the chat. Thanks to everyone that watched the show. I appreciate you all, especially everyone that interacted with it. I thank you all. I love when you guys do that. It makes 2 hours go by so fast. And it's amazing. So I want to thank you guys for tuning in. I'll be on next week along with Mac, and I have a surprise for everybody. So you don't want to miss the show next week. So again, thank you everybody. And then when the show comes out, man, make sure you share it. Again, find us on iTunes, find us on Spotify, find us on YouTube, PodRiver on YouTube, search Mac and Black on Spotify. It's there. It's on iTunes. Leave us a review, rate us, tell us what you like about the show, what you don't like about the show. We'll absolutely love all the feedback. So for Mac, who should be back next week, and for Steve all the way out there in good old Illinois, I'm the big man, El Oso Negro, down here from Houston, Texas, saying so long, and we'll see you guys next week. Peace.